Alright, squids, I got a little bit of a surprise. So I literally just picked this thing up. It's a genuine buddy, and I got it cheap, but I just checked the oil too, so I haven't really tested it. It needs some things, so this is gonna be the ride that we're gonna figure out what exactly is wrong with it. What I like about this one, it's got a kickstart and electric start, but it also looks extremely cute. It's reminiscent of the old Vespas, but it's got some this is, by the way, a Taiwanese bike like Kimco. Generally they do cost more than Chinese ones and the quality is higher, but there's a big difference between a Japanese bike and this one. It's got 10-inch wheels, so it's a lot less stable than the SH150, and riding with it you can tell right away that it's very unstable. I do like this big rack here, especially this thing, so I can grab it and just kind of move it around. It's got a center stand and, look at this, a kickstand. So this bike has not been ridden very much, so we're going to have to kind of fix it up. The controls definitely feel a lot cheaper. The plastic feels a lot cheaper than Japanese bikes. I do like this really big pocket here, and it has a shopping bag hook and a flat board and there's not a lot of space, so this bike physically is much smaller than the SH150, and it really feels like it. I can fit a lot of stuff here. What's this? Oh, that's how you get to the carb. Look at that. Let's put the kickstand. Handlebars are very narrow handlebars. All of this is pretty cheap. I think I need to lubricate everything. My front is actually aiming this way, so I need to adjust my forks. It does stumble if you give it full gas, you know. That's I believe I need to clean the carbs on this thing. Yeah, I definitely need to adjust the front, because if you can, it should be this way, and it's aiming slightly this way, and it's very bumpy. Mirrors, there's something up with the front. It's definitely crooked. You know, it definitely feels that a 10 diameter inch wheel is way more fun than the large wheels, but I feel a little bit less safe on it. The little wheels give it some pep, give it a little bit more je ne sais quoi. That definitely feels like a super maneuverable scooter. But the problem is that if you hit a pothole on this thing, it is just absolutely, it just jars you. And I had bikes with small wheels before. The one thing I do like is how cute it looks, and this part, it just looks like an old school Vespa. I don't know, it's kind of loud. Me buying these little things, what I like doing really is showing you guys these bikes. Almost 60. So it does 55 easy, 60 maybe downhill, slightly downhill. It's definitely seen better days. It's got rash here, you know. This is definitely somebody that didn't really take care of this bike very much. This thing is deep, and I also like that it's cute. It's a cute scooter. On this screw. A little bit of a project. All of this is, I go around and I clean it and I lubricate all the cables and any connectors that I see. I'm also going to be looking at all the bolts and making sure that all of them are in there. The front wheel is pointing in a different direction than the steering. So initially I thought you'd have to get at the forks, but no. Reach in here and undo it. It's a pretty tight bolt. 14 millimeter will loosen it, and then all you have to do is stand over the bike and center it and then retighten it. So this might take a while. And this has to be very tight. And look at my front wheel, and it looks pretty straight. I'm going to take it for a quick ride. It looks like it's nice and centered. It is so much better than before. So this is nice and clean here now. Oh, look at this air filter. Screw is missing, and normally that's not something you would see. The filter actually looks pretty decent. So let's go ahead and put these back. But gets the trunk open, and it seems to be getting stuck. You're going to need a drain pan and some 20mm socket, and then a 17mm one. And the first thing we have to do is get to the oil filter, which is here. What I did is I cut a bottle. One of the things that happens with these scooters is that most car drain pans don't fit in here, so you create quite a mess doing this. So using a 20mm, and I don't know how long this has been there, but look how tiny that is. It's a 7M12 by Piaggio, so I should be able to go to a Vespa store and get one of these. This bolt, and this should give us our oil drain. And this is a 17mm. There's also a washer on it. Now let's move to the right side, and we are going to be removing this bolt. That's a strainer. This 17mm right here. So there's a spring, and this looks really tight on there. So I like to take this and blow out all the particles that could be in the strainer. But this part goes in, and then the very tightly wound part goes into the bolt. With the strainer cleaned, you're just going to put it in there. A new filter, and gently make sure you lubricate the new filter. You're going to need about 1 liter of oil, so not a lot of oil. And your drain plug or your filler is right here, and we're going to measure it using the marks on the dipstick. You'll find useful is a funnel. What we're going to do is take this and then just measure it. It's got plenty of oil. So now that I have run the bike and I put some oil, it's in the halfway mark. So we are going to be adding just a little bit more oil until it's in the top mark. Alright, the oil level is fine on it. Now we're going to do a rear drive oil change. Here's your filler. So I've never done this on one. This is what we have, 85-140, and that's what the manual calls for. So using a 12mm, I'm going to undo this. Out. I'm using 85-140, and this will go a long way on your scooter. And what you do, you just kind of put it in there and you squeeze it in. Make sure you clean everything around here, because I got shaft drive oil all over my tires and everything. One of the things I find odd about this, there's no engine check light or engine temperature light or anything on this. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is trying to retouch some of the bits here just by removing a little bit, just using some red paint I have and just dabbing it. Will be better than nothing. I think it looks decent. It's definitely not the perfect way, and I might repaint this later on. It's never good. Removing the carburetor, because on this genuine scooter I am having an issue with it. Under here is your carburetor. Bolts, 10 millimeters, 2 here, 2 here, and I should be able to pull this up. Right here. Just get. Before we remove the tub, you're gonna have to remove the gas cap. Gas cap completely removed. We should be able to pull this up. Now we should have a lot more room to reach the carburetor. I'm gonna put the gas cap back on the gas tank. So using a Phillips screwdriver, we are going to unscrew this right here. I'm going to unscrew this one. It's on the other rubber side. Out the best way to get this out. And there's also like a bunch of other hoses that we're going to look at as we're pulling this out. So, and it is out. So now we should be able to push this back. And yeah, look at this. Whoa, what is this? What's this slop? This is something kind of odd. I've never seen this on the carburetor. There's this appears to be electrical tape. You know what? This is not, doesn't feel like it should be this way. Yeah, it's kind of an odd placement here. Alright, so now there's some gas kind of falling down on the motor and burning up. Disconnect our fuel line. And for the fuel line, there's this clip here. You should push it, and then often, and it might leak gas here, so here we go. There's a Phillips screw on top, and you just undo this. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but this is it looks important, so I'm just going to put this aside there. You don't need a lot of specialty tools to clean a carburetor. You have the top part, and then you have the bottom part. Let's start out with the top part. There are 2 bolts, and the bolts are actually holding these cables as well. You can kind of slide it out, but remember, we'll be tucking this in again, and this one just kind of holds it together. So push this out, and here we go. This is what it looks like. This is the diaphragm, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. The order of things, if it's done correctly. There's this needle. We'll have to clean that. The diaphragm, make sure that it's in good shape and not ripped. This one's in pretty good shape. And then here on this top part that goes here is the spring. Now let's turn it this way. There we go, snap one. Okay, so normally if this carb was dirty, you'd have like a lot of varnish down here, and varnish enough that it would be very thick, and this looks like it was cleaned almost recently. This, and then pull out this metal tab here, and then pull up. We push it down quite a bit, and then remove. Push down. This is the pilot and the main jet. We're going to remove both of them. So using a 7mm, you should be able to remove this, and now we should be able to pull this out. So one of the things I like to do is strip some wires. You know, you can use guitar string or whatever, and there are these little tiny holes on these needles, and what you do is you just take one of these and you just run them through. But I'm not going to do this too much because this appears to be super clean. We're going to clean it. So both of these have tiny little screws here. Our throttle issue is not that, it's something else. Could be air that's passing through the fuel. Once it's tight, give it one more turn. Time to put it back on the bike. That's going in, and it should kind of snap into place. I can give it gas. Alright, that is not a good sign, guys. This is like black silicone, and I've used this before, and I think I can manage to put it around and build my own gasket. It might take a while to do, but if I do this, it's really going to seal it. Our silicone, this is the tube that we want to seal, and I'm just going to put a little bit of sealant here inside. But alright, squids, this scooter is now ready to do a little bit of a test. I changed the oil, I changed the rear drive oil, I checked the tire pressure, I cleaned the entire thing up. So it is, and I put some stable in the gas as well, and the forks should be a little bit straighter. So much better. It's tracking straight now. Got a fresh oil change, new gear oil. I cleaned up the entire bike. I put stable in the gas tank. It's riding really well. You know, one of the odd things that I've noticed about this bike is that there is no engine check light at all. No engine check light, and that's kind of nutty. That's every bike I've had has had some sort of indication if there was something wrong with the motor. And on these little back roads that are a little bit bumpy, this bike, I mean, this thing feels like a torture rack. I think especially the rear is just so soft, and I don't even know if there's a way to adjust it. Rear shocks, I don't think are adjustable at all. I don't see a way of adjusting these. Yeah, I think they're fixed. I think I would need a different spring in order for this to be better. It looks better than before. It does feel more like a Chinese scooter than it does a Japanese scooter. I think that's the main difference between this and the Japanese one. You really should compare these to the Chinese ones. Like Kymco. Kymco is better quality, it seems, than this. The plastic is extremely brittle. When you have something that's brittle, then yeah, you know, I could remove the plastic and repaint it all, and that might be the thing to do, and it probably wouldn't take too much. It's just a lot of labor, but you know, it doesn't look too bad when you look at it from afar. The plastic though has definitely seen better days. It's a cool bike, you know. I don't think kind of a random cemetery here on this back road. It's near Sunshine, Maryland, the burial ground of the ancestors of the original African American community of Howard Chapel, 1862. The Genuine Buddy 125. It's a pretty darn good scooter. It just has a few little issues here and there, but it's a very like inexpensive bike. I think you can interchange it with a lot of Chinese parts. It's practically a Chinese bike, but it's from Taiwan, and their quality level is a little bit higher, not by much, you know. Kymco is pretty darn good. I thought the Kymco 500 that I had was pretty darn good, but I got off on the wrong foot with it. That's always an issue when you're fixing bikes straight off the bat. This one, it's a lot easier to work on, so I kind of enjoy that aspect of it. You know, if you want a bike that is inexpensive, that's easy to ride and very easy to maintain, and in a way you can learn to maintain it yourself, this could be it. It's better than Chinese bikes, and There's plenty of parts for them.